Hi guys, we're going to continue in the second video here of the passenger section. In this video, I'm going to focus on creating this top piece right here. And also I'm going to focus on creating this trim line, this cutout here, which we can see in better detail if we go to Detail A here. See, this says C Detail A right here. Detail A is this little inset piece, and it kind of shows us what it looks like. Okay, those are the things I'm going to do. This is the second video. In the first one, we created this block and we extruded it, and we created this inset, and I asked you between videos to go ahead and complete the back one, which looks the same, but it is a different size. It's a little bit bigger than the one in the front face. So let's get started here. What I'm going to do for this top cutout is I'm going to create a sketch on the top face. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and project the geometry. Remember, project like projection, okay? I'm going to project this geometry here, and that's just going to allow me to lock into it. Right click and OK. And then I'm going to create a rectangle. Doesn't even matter where I draw the rectangle. Just to prove my point, I'm just going to draw it off to the side. I do need the dimensions of the rectangle, so let's pull up our dimensions real quick. When you hit Alt-Tab on a Windows machine, Alt-Tab will actually help you flip back and forth between dimensions. That's pretty nice. You'll notice here that the dimensions of this rectangle, it's 1.98 wide, and it's 1.59 tall. 1.98 and 1.59. So let's go back here. And I'm going to go 1.98 wide, and I'm going to hit Tab. I'm going to hit 1.59 tall, and there's my rectangle. It's obviously not in the correct place. So here's what I know about this rectangle. Okay, if I look at this drawing left to right, I notice that this is centered. Okay, now be careful about this. You see a 0.60 here, right? Understand that that is a rounded dimension. It's rounded to 2 decimals, when actually it's a 3 decimal number. We really want this to be centered left to right. So if I look at this and consider this to be the left side over here, and I consider this to be the right side of the shape, I need it to be centered halfway between those. Well, that's really simple on Autodesk Inventor. All I need to do is I need to say, okay, vertically, I'm going to align this middle point here, and you can see that red dotted line appear just like in the first video, and I need to align it with the midpoint of this line, which is right here. And I click, and it's halfway in between. So I don't need the 0.60. And that's good because it's not actually correct anyway. It's a little bit off from that, okay? So I have it in place, left to right. Now I need to place it up or down. The tendency is to go ahead and put it in the middle, just like we've done with the others, but it's not actually centered. And I'll prove it to you here. You can see that it's 0.82, okay? This is where the windshield is going to go in later on, and just to kind of show you what's going to happen here, let's see if I can go find that windshield. It is right here. You'll notice that windshield's kind of like off-centered here. The base is a little bit closer to the front here than it is to the back, this piece that sticks down. And so because of that, our dimensions for this cutout in the middle are actually off-centered as well. It is 0.82 from the front. The dimension we need is right there. So I'm going to come over here, and in this case, this is the one location where I do need to go ahead and dimension it to be 0.82 from the front. Okay, so it's centered, and it's fully constrained, and I'm ready to go. I'm going to finish the sketch. I'm going to extrude this here in a second. You can see from the detail here, from right there, it's 1.07 deep. So I'm going to extrude it, this shape. I'm going to make it a cut instead of adding material, and I need to go into the wood block 1.07. So that's done. Now that I'm done with that, I'm going to go look here, and I see that these dimensions of these fillets is 0.2 for each one. So I'm going to go do my 3D fillet tool. 0.2 is still located up here, so that's good. And I'm going to make sure that I get all 4 corners before I hit the OK button. Okay, so now we go back to home view. Here we are. All right, before I quit this video, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do these little trim lines and a little trick called the mirroring technique, which is really awesome. It's right here. If you have your menu expanded, it's right there. It's called mirror. Okay. And so what I want to do is there's 2 ways to go about this, okay? I can either think about this being a square that I'm going to cut out in the front. So I can draw this shape on the front surface and then extrude it all the way backwards as a cut. Or I can draw it on this surface as a long wide rectangle and extrude it in just a little bit by 0.06 into the shape this way. It doesn't really matter which way you do it. I don't really care. I'm going to go ahead and draw on this face here. Okay, so I'm going to create a new sketch. And I'm going to draw a rectangle. Now watch them again. Watch how little I care about the dimensions of this rectangle. There's one thing I really want to know. and that's the height of the rectangle, which I can see here is 0.06. That's this number right here, right? So I'm going to make sure that I have 0.06 for the height, but I don't have anything for the width. And the reason I really care about that is because what I'm going to do is I'm going to come and vertically constrain the midpoint of this to be vertically aligned with, say, that midpoint. And so it lines it up for me. And then I'm going to come over here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to say vertically this piece needs to align with that. And so it lines up the widths for me, okay? Now the only problem is, so I've got the width of the rectangle, that's fine, but I need to slide it up into the correct location, right? So I come back to the dimension sheet and I notice that it gives me this 0.30 right here, okay? It needs to be 0.30 from the top. So I'm going to just say quick dimension, and from this line to the top of my rectangle is 0.30. It's done, right? I'm going to finish my sketch. Now we need to do an extrusion. In the extrusion, and it wants to pull it out, let's go to a cut instead. And it doesn't go that far in. If you remember from the dimension sheet, it says we're going to go in by 0.06, right? So I'm going to come in here, I'll type in 0.06. There it is. I'm going to hit enter. I have that one created. Now a lot of beginners would go over to the other side and basically repeat the process. And for something simple like this, that's perfectly fine, okay? You can go through and draw it on the other side just fine and get away with it, okay? But I want to show you a really cool technique. We have this mirror feature, but if I want to use the mirror feature, I have to add a work plane in the middle to tell what I want to mirror across. That'll make more sense in a second. The type of work plane that I want to choose here, if I choose the drop-down menu instead of just your regular plane, I'm going to do a mid-plane between two planes. Now if I click on this, it's going to ask which two planes do you want to be between. So I'm going to click here, and the two planes that I want to be between are this one on the right side and its counterpart on the left. And when I do that, notice what it did. Well, I guess I don't need to right click. Notice that it created a work plane right in the dead center of my shape, right? And what's nice is I can mirror across this. So I'm going to click on the mirror tool. It asks me first, notice this is highlighted, it asks me to click which features I want to mirror. Okay, well I want to mirror this feature right here. So I click, it's highlighted. Then I come over here and I select this option. Now it's asking me to select the mirror plane. In this case, I'm going to create that, click on this work plane that I just created, and it says, okay, so you want me to place an extrusion over here that matches, that mirrors. And I click OK, and it's done. That's pretty sweet. I don't need this work plane anymore, by the way, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to uncheck the visibility box. That way I don't have to look at it anymore. So hopefully that helps. This is a long enough video for the second one. I'm going to create one more. We're going to add some text here and emboss it, and we're going to turn it into a different kind of material and make it look cool. So hopefully that helps you. That's the second of 3 videos that are on the revision, the new way of doing the passenger section.